Empires are destroyed from within. It's the people that are on the inside that can do the most damage because they know your strengths, they know your weaknesses, they can poison the well. That came from a reference when the armies would fight on the battlefields, there would be someone from the inside that would poison the water well to make the whole entire group sick. So sick that when they fought on battle, the other side won. And that's what people are doing in your life. You've got to be willing to confront evil. The banks wanted you to buy houses so that you could be in a 30-year mortgage and pay them and the interest. You know what the banks do when you go buy a house and they have money in their bank? They call up Grant Cardone and say, hey, Grant, can we loan you $100 million to go buy all your 400 units that you want to buy? As soon as your money hits the bank, they're giving it to us. Rent where you live. Own what you rent. Be the owner of the multifamily and collect the rents. This book is the reason that we attribute all of our success, personally, professionally, and financially.
Welcome back to another episode of the Austin Zaback Show. Today we have a very special guest. We have Elena Cardone in the house, and Elena and her husband Grant have totally changed my life over the last decade, a little longer than a decade, and I'm excited to have Elena. I want to talk to the wife of the entrepreneur. I'm so excited to have this conversation. We were talking a bit before the show, Elena, that my wife would have loved to be here and meet you, but that'll happen at some point. But you've done a lot of incredible things. You're a best-selling author, international speaker, obviously the wife to Grant, which is a full-time job in and of itself.
Thank you.
And two beautiful, daughters that are just absolute. Anytime I watch them get up on stage, I'm like, this is just unbelievable, right? You guys have just done an incredible job, and I'm excited to dive into it a little bit. I appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you having me, and I also like the intro, so thank you for that.
Of course, just off the dome,
Yeah.
So I want to dive in maybe for people, and I can't imagine there are very many people that don't know who you are or who your husband is. But for those who don't, maybe tell me just a little bit about what you and Grant and the family dynamic, what are you guys up to nowadays? Because I've seen a lot of evolution over the years, of all the different businesses and public speaking and doing all the different things. What are you up to now?
Wow. It's a really great question. And before we went on air, you said you were introduced to Grant in 2013.
I was.
And that was really a pivotal time in our lives. So in 2008 is when the economy collapsed. And that's when I had these massive realizations in our lives. And so it's really at that point when we were about to lose everything, Grant was scared. I've never seen him scared before, but he was watching Lehman collapse and, I said, what does this mean? Because he went white in the face and he says, it means we're going to die. And I was like, what? We're going to die? You told me if I got together with you, my life was going to get better. I didn't sign up for death, and I'm pregnant with our first child. But it really made me realize a lot of things. And so at that time, I was pregnant again. I didn't really have the hatting as a mother. I didn't have reality with that role or even really being what it means to be in a marriage.
Yeah.
Crazily enough, I had already been married for 4 years, but I really didn't understand other than being monogamous, and I married the guy I loved. I didn't really understand from myself what that role was. And so I really, at that moment where it was a crucial point in our lives, because, now I'm threatened with death, and I don't like that. But I had to look at my life, our life. What are we doing? Where are we going? What are we building? What are we creating? Whereas before, I kind of had the luxury of not really having to think about that because life was all good. We lived in a normal condition, and we thought everything was fine. Until it wasn't. And so at that point in time, I actually started to do this concept that I learned from L. Ron Hubbard, which is called be, do, have. And the philosophy behind that is that's the order. Because a lot of people, and I myself included, previous to that, I thought I had to be a billionaire before I could be a billionaire. I thought I had to be a successful actress before I could say I was an actress. I thought I had to be all these things that I wasn't yet.
Yeah.
I thought I had to have it before I would allow myself to be it. And somehow I felt like some imposter, or I just couldn't really claim it. And that was a moment where I really started looking at my life, and I realized I was operating as this independent, powerful woman, never depend on a man for anything. And I was doing that, unfortunately, in our relationship. And so what would happen is I would go out and build all day, and he would go out and build all day, and we'd come home and then we'd destroy each other because I wanted this power position. I never wanted to be a subservient woman, never wanted to make him a meal. I thought that was beneath me or degrading. I mean, all of these illogical, irrational thoughts, kind of came to me. And anyway, from this concept, I looked in that moment and I said, okay, what is the picture that we want in the future? And so what does it look like? And it looked like us being known by, in Grant's words, 8 billion people.
Sure.
And I'm crazy enough and a big thinker enough to think, yeah, that's attainable.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Let's go for it.
Heck yeah.
Even if we fall short, like, okay, 7 billion, I'll take that.
All day long. Yeah.
So then it became really, well, how do we do that? We have to get known. If Grant's going to be this financial literacy expert and he's going to help people with sales, marketing, the list goes on, real estate, where he's become, I realized that the products and services would have to be exchanged to the magnitudes, to the millions. And he couldn't just be a millionaire. Of course, he would have to be a billionaire. So then I added that to the future. And I'm all excited about our future because it was so real as day for me.
Yeah.
And then I tell Grant, you need to become a billionaire. That opened up another can of worms because he wasn't happy about that.
Yeah, I've heard this story.
Yeah, it's in the book.
Yeah, Yep.
Anyway, we reversed engineer from the have by doing all the actions. But the important piece for me was the beingness. I had to be a wife that can coordinate and collaborate with my husband in order to achieve heightened levels of success together and not just on my own, because I could only go so high on my own. And we vowed at that point that if we ever were to make it, we were going to keep the doors open and share our successful actions and what we did to help us to get there.
Yeah.
So where are we going? Long answer to your simple question. We've actually attained the vision that we set for ourselves back in the 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, which
Incredible.
were heavy building at that time, heavy pay the price today in order to pay every price in the future, which is now. So where are we now? That's interesting that you asked that, because now in a new unit of time, I've reset the clock. And I've redone the new have picture. And now I'm trying to reverse engineer myself to be the person who can handle that future.
Yeah.
And that future is so big and so powerful and help so many that it will make everything we've done thus far look like child's play.
Wow.
And the big key from living from be, do, have is, and this was another critical moment for us and another successful action. Again, it comes from L. Ron Hubbard, but it is what it is. And I can't pretend like I found this myself. It was just what I learned there. But I was able to have a cognition that I was always living from the past. And that sounds sane. And there's nothing wrong with that. The past, the present, to the future, and everyone knows that's how time goes.
Yeah.
But the problem with that for me was the future had never been attained. So any falling forward wasn't a falling forward towards a growth to the future. It was a falling forward to a setback of, see, you're never going to get it. It doesn't work for you. It's for other people. And so I'd constantly go on this loop. And so I decided to cut ties with the past, only use it to kind of help me in predictions for the future.
Sure.
But now I live from the future. So now I just assume that picture is already there, because the future is already there.
Yeah.
And the future, was in your future, it hit you in the present, and then it went into the past. You were 13 at one point in your life. That was the future for you when you were 4, but 13 came, hit you, and now it's in your past. So I have this whole standard of 5 years from now, 4 years from now, and what that looks like. And so now I'm doing all of the actions, but wearing the beingness of that identity of who I will be in 5 years. I'm wearing that now every single day with every thought, decision. How would I do this? this? What do I need to equip myself with? How do I be articulate? How can I confront people? How can I put myself in the room and not feel inadequate and have some intelligence to be able to speak? And so that's why this is something I needed to go through to become my future self.
Totally.
To speak to you and interact and share ideas and meet your audience. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah, it's a pleasure. I want to go back to something that you talked about just now and in the book, and I've heard you say it many times, but that time, that moment in 2008, right, when you had told Grant, and I think I remember the whole story at one point. He was in his office, and you walk down the hall,
which was
right?
all, yes.
Yeah, you walk in there, and you're like, okay, Grant, and it went something to the effect, of course, better than anybody, that, hey, you got to go become a billionaire, right? And what that got me thinking about was, when I look at men, because and I even did a lot of studying over the last decade, and you look at married men tend to make more money than single men, right?
Yes.
And so because the wife, the other
and
person
live longer
and probably a million other things. But you look at that was such a power play and an important conversation, although Grant didn't want to hear it in that moment. I wonder how many other women out there are maybe, not having an important conversation like that with their significant other that they should have. Right? Hey, you're capable of more. I see more in you. You should go do more. What was your thought process in that moment? When did you say, hey, I'm going to go tell Grant that this is what he should do or we should do?
Well, I blurted it out and I could have done it better, okay? Because I didn't set up the conversation of where I was coming from in context and whatnot. So it really alarmed him and it made him feel threatened. It challenged his abilities. It was a big demand and so that I could have handled that better. But there was multiple sort of reasons why I did that. Why is because if he was going to be a success, he had to be the best in the area. He had to have altitude and he had to have the stats that are irrefutable so that he could really be the authority in the space.
Sure.
The second thing is when you have a guy of that magnitude and power, that ferociousness. And if it's not directed at something that he is ultimately capable of, then that energy is going to get focused on me and I'm going to be the target. So the greedy side of me said, go be a billionaire, to direct him in that direction and greedily off of me. But more importantly, I wanted to help him. I believe love is helping each other achieve your goals and your dreams. And his goal was to reach 8 billion people and help them make a difference for the better. So how could I do that? I can actually help him and encourage him and inspire him so that we could actually have influence for the better in this world that we live in. So that's where it really came up. That, for him not to do that would be a transgression. I believed on himself and for mankind.
And it took you being really strong to be able to do that, though, too, in hindsight, right?
Yeah, it really did. The thing is I really want to get this message out, whether it's whomever is putting pressure on whomever. It's easy for you to say, you need to go do this and you need to go and do that, which is how Grant heard it. But the second part of that is if you really want that, if you really want to make a difference, if you want to be able to provide for your family so you can take vacations in the south of France and jet ski with your kids, which you should put on your bucket list. Everyone should. It's incredible. If you want to give to your church and really truly have impact, then you can't make or ask something of someone that is so huge without also then being willing to share the phone at a dinner time or not say when is enough or why did you get home so late and when are you going to pay attention to me. There's different sacrifices that needed to be made in order for us to achieve those goals, and I paid the price for that. But I was willing to do that in order to get here in this place with the impact. To hear you tell me that you have been following Grant since 2013 and inspired you to get into the real estate industry. And now you're married. You're going to start a family, hopefully.
We are. soon, hopefully. Yeah.
And you're thriving and doing well. Like, that is my spiritual legacy.
Totally.
Like I don't profit financially from you doing that, but you doing that, whether I know you did or not, you contribute to my life on a spiritual level, whatever you believe in. But in my world, you've contributed to me by being a success from hearing Grant's work.
That's
and
super
it makes it all worth everything.
Yeah. And your family unit, when you look at, you guys are really the only couple that I've ever looked at where I say, like, this is the family unit that I strive to achieve, right? Like, it's something I've looked at well, not my whole life, but since I started following you guys. I want to talk too about, you talk about from 2008, you have this conversation. And then you say, there's like 3 or 4 years. I mean, obviously, your guys' entire journey has been a sacrifice, right? But what were some of those initial sacrifices that you had to make? You were pregnant, obviously, at the time with Sabrina, right?
Yeah.
And what were some of those sacrifices to, after you had that conversation with Grant? Now it's game time, right? Like, you guys are, as a family, you're like, okay, we're going to kick it into high gear and we're going to go make this happen. What were some of the things you had to say no to in order to make that happen?
A lot. I had to say no to the career that I was pursuing. It was, it was going to drag us back a little bit. Mm-hmm. I had to say no to toxic people, friendships, relationships, hanging out with the girls at the bar, having a drink.
Totally.
Shooting the what about your spouse.
Yeah.
I cut all of that out. No more. No more, talking negatively about Grant. I had to protect him and really cherish our relationship. We had to leave this beautiful place called California with the beautiful weather, and we sold our home and our cars, and we moved to Miami, a completely new location where no one was that we knew, and we had to build something from scratch there, leave all of our friends. And people don't know this because it was pre-social media. They see us now with the planes, the helicopters, the homes, beautiful, great, lovely things. Those are rewards. Those are my Super Bowl rings, by the way. But there was a time when there was no name brand, anything. There was, if anyone had a party at my house, it was like, bring your own food because it's going to be a potluck. I'm not paying for that. It was, I even had to hold back in my contributions to my church. That was painful, because we went from being able to make those donations to, guys, you know what, we can't do anything for a year or two. That was painful. There was no vacation. Like Grant and I did not take one vacation for 10 years, over 10 years. There was never going out. There was no dinners. There was no parties. You can't find anything like that. And people called us fuddy-duddies and when are y'all going to enjoy life and why do y'all work so hard? All of that was a sacrifice.
Totally.
Yeah,
I do. I know exactly what you mean. I've been going through it, right?
Yeah. We had to suffer up, partnering with wrong people and, figure out how to identify those types and make right decisions and walk away from things that potentially looked great on paper, but we knew better.
Yeah.
So when you see the successful, I call the Super Bowl rewards of life now, what you see is not only the success, but all of the times we were able to avoid potential trouble.
Sure. You mentioned something that I've really liked that you've said many times, and that is that you got to that point where you said, hey, I cannot and will not talk negatively about my partner with other people, right? Because then they have this distorted... Can you kind of elaborate on that and how that's so important and why so many people who are watching should take that advice and run with it? Yeah.
Well, it was the idea and the concept of when I decided, okay, I'm going to equate everything to an empire. And if he's the king and I'm the queen, you wouldn't, and this is the sake of the metaphor, but I'm not going to then go to the chambermaids and ask them their opinions about the king.
Of course not.
So I realized I was doing that in life. I was bringing my problems. And why am I bringing my problems? Why am I seeking counsel in others? People have their own problems in relationships. And so they're either going to give you bad advice with good intentions or they're going to give you bad advice for nefarious reasons.
Either way, it ain't good.
Either way, it's
Yeah,
not good.
right.
And then also, the negative effects of that. I have a problem with my husband. I talked to my girlfriend. She's now stuck with the pile of poop I've just dumped on her.
Sure.
I go back and I hear my husband's side, and I actually can understand his side, and I can take responsibility for what I did. Girlfriend doesn't know all of that. She wasn't there.
Yep.
I make up with him, go back with the girlfriend who still thinks he's an a-hole, and now she's going to bring it up, and it's going to get me all upset again, or I'm trying to handle her on it, and she can't move past it, so she's never really going to like him.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work.
No, it really doesn't. And I love that you say that. And we've made it a priority in our relationship to never do that.
Yeah.
Because of that, right? Like I saw that, I heard it, and I was like, okay, we can't do that. Like it's a rule that we have, right? It doesn't matter if we get into an argument, we're not going to call up our buddy and talk about that argument. Like the world doesn't need to know.
That's right.
And
you're only going to know with us after we've been through something, if we've figured out how to kind of handle it, or this was a successful action to us, then we will mention something. But,
Sure.
your relationships are private, and we've been married now for 21 years. We are like in such an amazing rolling place right now. It's so incredible. But there's times when, like we've hit like a barrier.
Yeah.
And we've had to work through it. And each relationship, I'm in the relationship with Grant, not the rest of the world. Like, you don't owe it to the world to know your business. That's what makes being in a relationship so special, because
Sure.
it's that one specific person that you choose to get through life together and grow with. And I picked a good one.
Heck yeah, you did. Talk to me about the family dynamic. You guys have such an incredible, I told, and not to keep bringing her up, but it's a true story. So I told my wife, like on our second date, I said, hey, if this ever works out, I don't eventually want to go left in the morning and you go right. And that what I was saying is like, hey, if we're going to do this thing, then we're going to get married and do all that, right? And I want to build an empire. Like, I want to do one thing together. Like, I don't want you going and working for some other guy and building his empire while I'm over here trying to build our empire, right? And you guys did that so phenomenally, in my opinion, when you made that decision to go all in, even with Sabrina and Scarlett. I mean, now obviously that they're a little bit older, but you see, anytime I've gone to a 10X Growth Con or I've gone anywhere, right? Like, you are a family unit. Like, what would you tell the world about that? How did that come to be? What did you have to do to kind of get all on the same page and march in the same direction?
And I recognize that there are circumstances where people can't
Sure, of course,
work together, and so that's just the nature of life and finances, and we live on an economic planet, and so. But how we got to that point is that we do have. I really looked at the future picture and said what it is that we wanted. We wanted to reach 8 billion people, and we wanted them winning from our products and services. So I can't reach 8 billion people one-on-one. They have to go through and have the material, and then have it change their trajectory and spread it like that. So we just got so aligned on what we wanted to do. And then it was around that time, again, this is why I'm in town. I'm speaking at this Ultimate
awesome.
Women's Expo.
Yep.
But I'm speaking about this book, Dianetics, by L. Ron Hubbard. I actually have it here.
Yeah, show us.
Let me
Yes.
show it to you real quick.
Ooh, wow, big book.
It's a big book.
Okay.
But the reason this book is so important, and I am authorized to speak on behalf of Grant Cardone when I say this, but this book is the reason that we attribute all of our success personally, professionally, and financially.
Wow.
And I'll talk now and I'll tie that into the family unit because prior to this book, just so you know, is a book on the mind.
Okay.
So it's a book, it says The Modern Science of Mental Health. And so, so there were irrationalities that I had that existed and came from my mind. Part of my mind is a reactive mind. There's an analytical mind that can think sanely and rationally and make pro-survival choices with life, and that's great. However, there is a reactive mind, and the reactive mind is the mind that contains all of the pain, trauma, deaths, operations, injuries, all those mental image pictures that you have or maybe sought to bury, it's there whether you know it or not. And I went through a lot of trauma early on. And out of that trauma, I had, let's link it to this. If your mind is the perfect human calculator, your calculation for 2 + 2 would be 4, and that is very sane, and you would probably live a very prosperous life with that.
Sure.
However, from the reactive mind and the trauma and pain that you have been through, those calculations that you come up with actually make a permanent held down 7 in your calculator for the sake of the example. So now from those calculations, like all men hold you back. I'm talking about myself.
Sure.
All men hold me back. I can't make money. That's only for the other people. I had fears of being in a relationship. I can't be loved. I have to be a strong, independent, powerful woman, never depend on a man for anything. Those are deep-rooted calculations that came from the reactive mind. Held down 7. So when I would enter 2 + 2, I would get 11.
Wow.
And so I couldn't function in life with the 11 because when I would have a relationship prior to this book and I had the can't love, don't trust, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And by the way, I cast everyone in my life perfectly perfect to make me very right about all of this. I could show you the whole reports. So I would blow up relationships. I definitely did not think I could have children. That's how wicked the reactive mind is. I thought I would ruin them. I didn't think it was important. I thought I would be less than with, I couldn't just be a mom, like just a mom.
Yeah.
So degrading. And so it held me back because I could never be in relationships. I'd blow them up. I'd have these reactions in life where I would do something, whether it was drugs, alcohol, said something, got fired from a job. And I would be like, why did I do that? Like, why did I say that? I couldn't even control myself in the moment. It came from there. And so this is why Grant and I really owe this book an enormous debt of gratitude because from this book, and I have done many therapies and none of them worked for me in the level that I needed them to. This book has these easy therapeutic procedures. First of all, just understanding the mind is like a huge, tremendous relief because it makes sense. And nobody had told me that before. I thought I was damaged goods. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I couldn't learn or study because it was me. I didn't realize it was from this one thing. And if you can erase this one thing, all of that, and unstick your 7, you can actually go through life and become happy, reach your full potential, financially, personally, professionally. Where I am at right now is not an accident.
Yep.
It is not an accident. And for the people out there that would look and say, well, so-and-so successful and this person's successful, but why aren't they happy?
Right.
Why are they cheating on their wives or husbands? Why are they having to have sleeping pills to sleep at night? Why are they upset? Why do they have broken relationships? Why are their kids an utter disaster? Why doesn't it work for them? It's because of this reactive mind.
Yep.
And that's why I'm so passionate about this book because, you know, people learn a lot from us. We have lots of products. Grant has thousands of YouTube videos free that are there to help people. Look, we can tell you how to stay motivated, sales, marketing, training, how to train your staff, how to hire your staff. We can get all of the mechanics in and scaling and businesses. I mean, and real estate and finances and investing. Like you need all of that too. But with this still reactive mind carried around with you, you can have everything there, but you still won't be able to execute if you're living with fear and grief and pain and held down 7s.
I agree. And everybody has trauma, right? In some way, shape, or form. Therefore, everybody has that reactive mind that you're talking about. It's different for everybody.
Yes.
Right? But ultimately, we all have it.
Yes.
Like, nobody was, even if you, like I was talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, I was raised perfect. And that was the reason that they were jacked up, right? Because it was then when they went in the real world, things weren't perfect. And so it's like, no matter what your upbringing was, everybody has trauma and everybody has to work on it.
Everyone's had pain, whether it was at the dentist or they fell down on the schoolyard and hurt their knee. All of those moments you don't think make a difference in your future, but it does.
Yeah.
All of it, from no matter how little or intense it may be.
How long did it take you to go through the book and to implement the actual actions of getting rid of those sevens that you talk about? Like, really applying it to your life and feeling free from the burden of the weight that you used to carry. Like, what did that look like?
Well, there's a specific end phenomenon that's called being a clear. And the clear is when you actually get rid of that reactive mind.
Okay.
And so that's going to take an individual, whatever it takes for them to reach that point.
Sure.
Or to reach a point where they are so destimulated in life that the life environment isn't constantly putting pressure on them and like activating that held down seven. So it doesn't have to take long. And like I said, the procedures or the processes that are in this book, you could just go grab your friend, learn them, do it with each other, and in an afternoon feel more relief and have more gains and wins than perhaps you have in all 10 years of your therapy. And I am not understating that.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is really crazy.
It really is.
And so sane at the
how
same
long
time.
ago did you and Grant find out about this?
Well, Grant has his own story on this.
Okay.
He heard about it years and years and years ago, maybe like in his 20s or something.
Never thought much of it.
And then he forgot about it or didn't do anything about it. And then he heard somebody in the car and they said a word and he was like, wait, that's the word. That's a word. Are you like a Scientologist or did you read Dianetics? And they were like, yeah. And so and all of a sudden he was like, I'm ready. I want to do whatever I have to do to go clear because he remembered reading the book.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
I want to go back real quick and talk a little bit about the relationship that you guys have, and then we'll kind of move on because I know you have a busy schedule. So one question that I know a lot of people would want to know the answer to is, how do you and Grant in your relationship handle when you have a disagreement, right? Like, what does that look like for you guys?
Okay. I'm going to tell you what it looks like in the perfect ideal scenario.
Okay.
And I will preface it. Is that the word? I will make this disclaimer that I am not always perfect. I have evolved. But this is what we do now, and we have been doing, and it's very successful.
Okay.
Simple. I make sure that he is well fed. You never want to get into a heavy discussion with somebody who is hungry or like massively tired. Like, I'm not going to go to him when he's exhausted at midnight and bring up a heavy conversation. This is probably not the smartest idea. But I tell him, I say, okay, you're fed, feed him. That's always going to score me brownie points because he loves when I give him a meal. Then I'm going to sit down in a place and I'm going to say, hey, I want to talk about this. This is the point of the agenda and why. I said, phones aside, I deserve that respect. No problem. He puts them away. I have a pen and a paper in front of both of us. And I say, the purpose of this meeting is because I'm feeling like we're not on the same page. We've kind of fallen out to a degree of affinity or liking for each other. And I want to have communication to restore that and get us back on the same page. And to the degree that you and I are not winning, the people, and there's a lot of them, that want to see us divorced, miserable, unhappy, losing all of our money. Every second that we spend in this upset gives them credibility and happiness and winning. And I don't like to lose and I don't want them to win. So I started with that. And then I say, okay, I'd like to talk about this, and I talk about it. Now, I have to hold myself accountable and take responsibility where I can, or I'm willing to see in that moment. I try my best to not make him really wrong, but have him see my viewpoint on maybe perhaps how that could have affected me. Or is there a solution where I could feel, A, maybe I misunderstood it, or B, how do I handle that? Because it really upsets me, or it hurts my feelings, or I feel like it's vulnerable, or I trusted you with that and you just shared it with the stage, like, you know, or whatever the situation is. And then I get to speak fully without interruption or being defensive, or, you know, and then, and when he speaks to me, it's harder for me because I'm defensive and I've got my little swords and I want to attack him because I'm mad at that point.
Yep.
But I try not to. I try to write it all down, and I hear everything that he says. And again, in an ideal scene, I'm trying to listen to his viewpoint. I already know mine, but what is he trying to say? And do I trust this man? I'm married to this man. Find the one you trust and build an empire. Is he trying to destroy me? Is he trying to destroy us? The answer is never yes. So I try to understand him and look at how can I best serve us to accomplish our mission and get us back into having a world influence where we're making a difference for the better, where we're inspiring families, because families are broken.
They are.
They're broken, and families can heal communities, empires, the planet. They can destimulate environments. They can produce happy, winning, contributing members of society called their children. Like, let's get back to that. So that's how we handle arguments in an ideal scene.
That's a phenomenal way to do it. And how many arguments did you have to handle not like that?
A lot. We've been married for 21 years.
Right.
I've learned my lessons.
Totally.
You know, at first I just wanted to be right.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go on and on and on. And now I'm more aware and keen and skilled. Like, I can see when he got it. And he's very fast and he's very quick. And if I continue to go on past that point, it gets him upset again. So I want to go in, be understood, with duplication, that he really understands, have him have a cognition and trust, because it always, this is something I learned. Like, even when I say things and I think he doesn't agree with it, maybe he said he doesn't agree with it, but it sinks in.
Yeah.
And later I'll hear him in a conversation and he'll say something like, you know, Elena was right on this thing, or maybe we should do this or that. And it was my thing that he disagreed with, but now so these are all phenomenal lessons that after 21 years I've learned. You know, just trust the process, trust my man. He's never going to betray me. He never has, you know. And look, we have a technology here that can get us back on course if we ever, you know, find ourselves in a situation where we become unethical or whatever. We handle it with each other. We don't keep secrets, and we've really committed to each other.
Yeah. And you guys, I mean, have done a phenomenal job from the outside looking in. Really cool to hear that. What are a couple of non-negotiables for you guys, for you, Grant, maybe even Sabrina, Scarlett, as a family? What are some non-negotiables that you think maybe everybody should have in their either marriage or in their household, you know?
Yeah, that's such a phenomenal question. I mean,
when you look at like the
obvious.
ideal,
They seem obvious to me, but I'm just going to state them.
Sure.
I mean, non-negotiables for me are the people around me. I can't compromise my integrity. We have 16,000 investors. That's going to grow to 20, 40, 50,000 soon. I have our staff, our employees. We're here. We're Miami. The point is a lot of people depend on us to be sane, to be well, to be ethical. So empires are destroyed from within. I know who my enemies are. Don't like them, but I can protect myself against them. But it's the people that are on the inside that can do the most damage, because they know your strengths, they know your weaknesses, they can poison the well. They literally poison the well. That came from a reference when the armies would fight on the battlefields. There would be someone from the inside that would poison the water well to make the whole entire group sick. So sick that when they fought on battle, the other side won. And that's what people are doing in your life. You've got to be willing to confront evil and see, not just listen, but see. And so I'm not negotiable with people around us. You're not entitled to my life. I don't care if you were a friend, a family from years ago. If you're a liability and no longer an asset, you have got to go. And it sounds very ruthless, and it is. because I've worked very hard to be the person that I've become. Grant has worked very hard, and too many people, our children depend on us. So I cannot let toxic, trauma, reactive mind people around us. So drugs are a complete no in the inner circle. Like no one can do drugs in our inner circle.
Yep.
No excessive alcohol. No one that's going to be cheating on their spouses.
Big one. Yep.
If they're cheating on the people they love, they're cheating in business.
100%. No question.
Let's see, what else?
Those are good.
Those are good, right?
Those are really good. Yeah. What's your vetting process? You talk about, I feel like the woman typically has more of that intuition, kind of like, and that person's not good, right? You're like, hey, like, no. Like they're here for the wrong reason. Like, is it a gut feeling? Can it be trained? What is that?
It can be trained.
Can it?
And again, now we're going to go back to, and I know I've brought this up a lot, but there is a book in addition to this book.
In addition.
No joke, probably my second favorite book. Of course, it's by L. Ron Hubbard. It's called Science of Survival. And I particularly love this book because there is something called a tone scale in this book. I wish I had it with me because you would be fascinated by it. And there are tone levels of people, whether you know them or not, but it would behoove you to know them. And I have studied this book. I have taken a course, how to confront and shatter suppression. Suppression is designed to hold you down in life. So in doing that course, you learn this tone scale up and down. What is the tone scale? I'll just give you an idea of somebody from high on the tone scale. They would be in games and action. They would be in postulates. What are postulates? Things that the have picture, things that you assume to be true with no yet evidence. That's a postulate. I'm postulating my future. Okay, postulates, very high tone. Enthusiasm, very high. You see these enthusiasm, exhilaration, cheerful. These are, but like in like a real authentic state, not like a manic depressive state, like not like that would be a different, that would be an apparent but not a real. So these states, and as you come down from enthusiasm, let's say you go into conservatism, that's still pretty high. The person's going to think about everything and analyze everything. Very high tone. Then you come down from there, and there's things like strong interest to mild interest to boredom to monotony and to the covert hostile. They smile at your face, but they're stabbing you in the back. That's a very difficult tone level. You've got to be able to recognize
classic
that.
narcissism.
Totally. Okay, and then you come down from there to fear, to terror, to grief, and maybe I'm mixing up the orders a little bit, but trying to just give you, there's unexpressed resentment. When you go into the post office or to the DMV, the no sympathy, those are all tone levels, and they're lower tone levels. Like antagonism is, pretty low. And then it gets worse down to apathy, down to body death, to victim, to body death. Okay. And it can go even lower than that, but we won't get into that. But each tone level has specific characteristics of what you can expect and predict from that chronic tone level of a person. A person chronically in grief, you can expect them to handle, receive communications and deliver communications differently than somebody way up high, like in cheerful. In cheerful enthusiasm, you can expect them to be responsible, to deliver. Like, for example, if they heard a communication that had something a little negative in it, that wasn't optimum and you didn't really need to know it for any reason other than it was just plain gossip. Somebody high tone would come to me, give me the information, they'd filter out that little negative piece. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's not important.
Right.
And they would give me the positive piece, and that's a high tone. But these lower conditions, they don't do that. They'll hear some communication and literally twist it.
Right.
To insert negative content, to twist and manipulate it, and they deal in gossip and so along with their responsibility, whether it's they can actually do things or it's careless or reckless, you can start to see the different tones, and you can expect different even health issues at certain tone levels.
Of course.
Right? Because
if you're negative all the time, like they say, that can kill you.
Exactly.
Like,
the
right?
stress, the
Totally.
anxiety is a tone level.
Yep.
So again, this goes back to your question of the vetting system. So because I am acutely trained on the tone level, I can spot people. I can look at or listen to what they talk about. What is the condition of their things? You have a very aesthetic place. That tells me something about you. It might not tell me everything, but it tells me something.
Yeah.
I can look at your clothes
enough
and
of
how
these little golden nuggets, and then you come to a conclusion, right?
I can look at your friends and, are they well? Are they doing well? How are your, we have another thing called dynamics. How well are your dynamics? Everyone has these dynamics, again, whether you know it or not. And when you understand Grant and myself, you will start seeing how we're living on our dynamics. I'm only going to talk about 4 dynamics. If we even go here. Do we go here?
Sure. Why not?
Okay.
Let's go.
So there's 8 dynamics, first of all. But
we're going to talk about 4.
We're going to talk about 4. There's the first dynamic, which is yourself. That's your self-care, everything to do with you and only you is your first dynamic.
Okay.
I used to be first dynamic only oriented. I didn't even know there was another world outside of myself. Then I discovered there's the second dynamic, and that is the family. That's your relationship, your children's, your literal symbiotes of how well you survive through existence. How well do I survive as myself? How well, now that I've expanded into the second dynamic, how well are Grant and I surviving? How well are my children surviving? The third dynamic is the groups. My tennis group, my church group, my 10X community group, the group at the offices, my staff. How well are they doing? Because I live through them, right? And how well they're doing. So it's important to me that my group and the people are winning and they're happy in life and they're on purpose and they're ethical, because my survival, to some degree, benefits and does better the better they do. And the fourth dynamic is all of mankind. So Grant and I are doing, I believe, as well as we can do on our first, our second, and our third, but I feel like those are capped by the fourth. And so the fourth dynamic, could use a little work. I mean, look, we're still in a place where man is killing each other.
Yeah.
Like as a species, we're
Totally.
killing each other. Like that is irrational, illogical, like a conclusion to murder somebody.
Because you don't agree with them?
You don't agree with them?
Unbelievable.
It comes from the reactive mind to come up with that sort of calculation and think that that's the sane choice.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's why Grant and I are on this mission now to really go on a big, massive level to mankind and really try with the little life years that I have left to make a difference and to help mankind.
And I feel like you're doing it.
Thank you.
You guys are doing it. I mean, just the amount of views, impressions, the amount of events, just the amount of people that you and Grant touch on a yearly basis is a lot of people, and it's only going to get bigger the more that you do that. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that acknowledgement.
Yeah, of course.
Because sometimes you live in it and you don't really know.
Yeah. No, I get that. I feel that. Yeah. Yeah. I think, you guys you're doing it. And you will continue to do it.
Thank you.
Like I see that.
Child's play.
Yeah.
Child's play back there. Future. Woo.
Totally. So that actually leads me perfectly into a couple things I wanted to ask you, which is obviously to have that level of impact, you've got to make money, right? Like you've got to make money. Like you and Grant and your family, like you have to make money. That's where, the Cardone Capital and all of the things come into play, right? And we won't go too deep into that because I know that that's probably more of a Grant thing. But ultimately, everything that goes on, I'm sure. And my main question is, what are some of the money dynamics that your overall family, so you, Grant, Sabrina, Scarlett, have had to implement in order to have that level of impact, right? Because if you're just terrible with money and you're terrible with your investors and you make bad choices and you do all these things, then you're never going to reach 7 billion people, right? So it's like those two kind of have to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
What are some just simple, fundamental money principles that you have made sure like, hey, like this is what we have to do that maybe somebody watching should implement immediately if they want to have great impact?
It's really, really good and really simple. I went to Grant. Finances and money and numbers are a weakness that I haven't chosen to take responsibility for yet. And I went to Grant and I said, look, I feel really not confident in that area. And Grant looked at me and he was like, you only need to know 3 things about money. And if you know these 3 things about money, you know, and you will be so far superior to all the people that try to pretend that they're an expert in this or that.
Sure.
All right,
You're
tell
like,
me the 3
three
things about money. So he said, you got to know how to earn it, which most people do, right? You got to know how to earn it. You got to know how to store it. Most people don't know how to do that. And then you got to know how to multiply it. And those are the 3 things, and I'll explain further. So earn it, store it, multiply it.
I love that.
And I never said save. And Grant's really educated me on this. Saving money in a bank, your money is depreciating in value. You are not doing yourself a service. You store the money to put it into, our case, an income producing asset.
Yep.
And we do this circle and this cycle over and over and over again. We earn it, we store it, we dump it. He says, he calls it going broke. We go broke because we dump all of the stored money. Either earned money only goes to one of 2 things, being stored to then get put into the income producing asset, or it goes back into the service facility, which is myself, my business. So this is the only 2 things. This is why we paid the price for so many years.
Yep.
So we stored, we earned. We were always broke because the money kept going into multifamily units. We were protected. The money, it went into there. So earn it, store it, multiply it. Not a lot of people know how to cash flow, make money, make babies, whether you're alive, sick, dead, nothing. This can't be destroyed at this point. And so what we did was earn it, stored it, put it into the income producing assets, which was multifamily. I know you love that.
I do. Yep.
And now the cash flow from those buildings support our lifestyle. We never spend earned income on
amazing.
Chanel or a vacation or anything, or a donation or anything. And we live and die by those policies.
Totally.
And the thing that is so wonderful, and I admire Grant so much about this, is I run into a lot of rich people that are, they've made money, they've earned it, they've banked it, but now they're terrified to lose it because they never practice the discipline of getting rid of money by putting it, going broke, into an income producing asset. That makes you then have to have the discipline to know I can recreate this and regenerate this at any time. It makes you go back to work. It makes your creativity go, okay, well now I need to go into this area. It's symbiotic with this one. And what are the opportunities that I'm missing because I got comfortable doing this one little thing? Now, when you get rid of money and you have to re-earn it, you become very open to the possibility of scaling and adding and assisting with the raising of the money. And and so people ask us all the time, me in particular, what would you do if you lost all your money? You'd be like, go get Grant Cardone.
Go find a Grant.
Go find a Grant.
Yep.
No, but this is what I say, I would say you can take it all.
But you can't take this.
You can't take that. You can't take what I've learned. You can't take my network, my connections. It might take me a minute, but I have no doubt I would come back because we have discipline. I know how to go and get money.
Yeah.
Promote. If they don't know you, they can't flow you. It's simple concepts. Promote. Money follows attention. I can stand on the street and be like, hey, can you give me $100? I'm just make it fun. Somebody would give me $100.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't promoting.
Yeah, they're not promoting.
What's the number one mistake of the 3 that you think people make, that households make, that couples make, that, maybe
they earn
2
and
newlyweds,
spend, earned and spend, earned and
they
spend.
never do anything else?
They earn and spend. They don't know how, and they don't have the discipline. They don't either know the asset, trust the asset. The banks and
but
the
all they got to do is go on
institutions
YouTube, pull up Grant, pull up anybody. I mean, like, it's not hard. Why do people not do it?
They've been indoctrinated to buy a house, which is not an asset. It's a liability. It doesn't pay you. It doesn't cash flow. So they buy a house because that's what the banks told you to do years ago, because that was the system that they wanted. They own the house, not you. You're paying taxes on that forever. So if you don't pay taxes, who owns your house? Not you.
That's the truth.
That's right.
Yep.
So the banks wanted you to buy houses so that you could be in a 30-year mortgage and pay them and the interest. You know what the banks do when you go buy a house and they have money in their bank? They call up Grant Cardone and say, hey, Grant, can we loan you $100 million to go buy all your 16 or 400 units that you want to buy? As soon as your money hits the bank, they're giving it to us.
They're loaning it out.
1,000,000%.
It's crazy. Yeah. Why do people think, so then why not rent? For the newlywed,
you
for the 30-year-old.
Rent. Of course you should rent.
Right?
Why are you owning? It's ridiculous. And again, I really owe so much of how I think about money for Grant, because he has these great, phenomenal statements. Rent where you live.
Yep.
Rent where you live. Own what you rent.
Right.
Meaning, be the owner of the multifamily and collect the rents.
Totally. And then maybe one day, when you have all the money in the world,
when you have the FU money,
then
like,
who cares?
Okay, go
do
what you want, because you know why you're doing that now? Because the cash flow is buying it, not your earned income.
100%.
And Grant says when the cash flow can buy it, whatever you want twice and in cash, that's when you do it. Not that you go out and buy 2 Rolexes because you can, but don't buy the first Rolex from your cash flow unless you can buy 2.
Yeah, I love that.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's been our success formula, and it's grown, and we've multiplied, and now I have my own investments in Grant Cardone, in Cardone Capital. I have my own investments. It took me years. I started years ago investing. I had to beg Grant to let me invest. He was like, "This is ridiculous. You're my wife." I'm like, "I know, but it's important to me, and I want my own money, and I have my own money." And so I started investing in Cardone Capital. I always wanted to be like a multimillionaire just because of how I grew up, and I never went to college. We struggled, and I never thought that was real for somebody like me. So I wanted to do it myself. And Grant and his opportunities of letting non-accredited investors, even though I was accredited at that point in my own right, the opportunity. So I took my money years ago, put it into Cardone Capital, and since then I have become a multi-millionaire. This is not with Grant's money that I get as our money and we share everything and we don't have a prenup and all of that. All of that makes sense, but this was important to me. My mother is a multi-millionaire now. Like, do you understand the conversations we have together? Like, we couldn't afford school books.
Yeah.
She didn't know how she was going to pay the mortgage, month after month. Like, it was a strain in our family. So the fact that we've been given this opportunity by Grant and Cardone Capital is like, I get it on a deeply personal level of how that affects and changes families' lives.
Which leads me right in, and I know we've already been here for a little while, but there's one category that I really want to talk about. It plays perfectly with what we just talked about, which is, now how do you raise Sabrina and Scarlett in such a way where they won't have the opposite distorted reality of money? And I've seen the videos and stuff, but I'm just asking for the people watching, right? Because there's so many people out there, I think, that they don't know, like, do you pay your kids an allowance? Do you not pay them? And like, there's so much that goes into that, right? And I'll probably have kids soon too, so I'll be taking notes.
I personally believe you cannot spoil or ruin a child. You can only allow a child to not be in exchange with you. And parents do this all of the time. A little kid tries to exchange with you by a smile, or if they see you on your computer and they go to pound your computer, they're actually not trying to ruin your life. But a lot of parents, stop it, what are you doing? Leave me alone. It stops their exchange. They're trying to to help you in their little 2-year-old and 3-year-old body. So I always allowed them to exchange with me. Oh my God, thank you. I mean, I was dying inside because there's all the little things and I'm like, oh my God. But I'm like, oh my God, you're amazing. And I allowed them to contribute. And even when they were young, we're going to get a plane. Do you want to come on it with us? Yes. Okay, great. Oh, do you have a contribution? They gave me all of the money in their piggy banks. They don't have reality on money, but they know they help pay for that plane. They're in exchange. And so to answer your question, they are on payroll. Number of reasons for that, taxes and whatnot.
Sure.
You know, Sabrina was like, I knew all about tax write-offs, but it hit me differently when I found out I was one. But they have a contract that they're expected to do and they want to do because they do appreciate our lives. And they do appreciate, you know, there's sacrifices with that too. They have to have security certain places where they go and their friends don't, and it's embarrassing for them or they don't like it. But that is what I explained. You know, there's benefits and there's, you know, sometimes there's the negative aspect.
Sure.
But your friends don't get to go on the south of France or go to 19 countries and tour the chocolate factory in Switzerland and like have all of these amazing experiences. So we have to weigh it all out. And they're allowed to contribute. And, you know, I know in the past that they don't want to be called Nepo babies and all this. And I said, own it, just own it, embrace it. So they make fun of it now and they're like, yes, we know we're Nepo babies. We know we've had a good life, but they're also smart and articulate and they know more about life and circumstances and what they're allowed to create and be self-aware and self-determined over. And I just raised them, which is a way I wasn't quite raised. But I said, look, you know, just because you're 5 or 6 years old doesn't mean that you don't know and an adult knows better. Sometimes they don't and they can be wrong. But what you do have to do is you have to respect them, but you can have your own knowingness and you can actually be right. And that's okay with me. So I've just really tried to allow them their own self-determinism. I try to stay out of the way. I try to give advice when I can, and they will listen. It is a delicate area that I'm continuously trying to figure out for myself and navigate. But I'll just end on this note on that question. Some people worry because, you know, Grant and I essentially came from nothing, not the bottom of the barrel, but I wasn't sleeping on dirt floors. But some people are like, I'm worried they won't have the impetus to want to work or life's too easy or this or that. And, you know, and I throw this back at them. I think, how far ahead would I have been if I didn't have to undo and unlearn and deal with reworking the entire structure of all the false data that was given to me by people that didn't know and didn't have the statistics? How far would I go if they had the advantage now? So why do they have to be at the bottom to go to the top? Why can't they start with knowing so much and like having a really good life and then being able to see how high they can go? And that's what I've told them. I said, you can do whatever you want with your life. You have a great asset in your father and myself, and they've done this. Can you believe both of my children, awesome. 14 and 16, have read this book? This is a big book.
Yeah.
I mean, that's impressive.
If they can get up on stage in front of 30,000 people in a stadium, they can do just about anything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is pretty incredible. It's remarkable. I've seen them speak.
It's incredible. They've taken communication courses. They've done Dianetics. So, you know, for me, I think it's their life to ruin.
Yeah. But you guys have done your part.
I've done my part. I feel like I'm always going to feel as a mother, and just the nature of who I am. I always expect greatness. I always expect to better myself. So I'm always going to go, I could have done that better. I shouldn't have done that. I could have been better here, there. But overall, I would take me as a mother. And to think at one point I actually thought I would ruin my kids and like I couldn't be a mother.
Crazy.
Insanity.
Yeah.
It's total insanity, because I am proud.
Heck yeah.
Of myself and motherhood and my children and my family.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Really cool. Do you have time for like 2 more questions?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So you've talked a lot about being the CEO of the house. and Grant is the CEO of everything else. I've heard you say this, right?
Yeah.
And it really is that traditional kind of like when you go way back, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, that's what it was, right?
Yeah.
Before we got into this crazy kind of world where, we have to put pronoun, like just this crazy world we live in, right? It used to be that, the wife did wife things and the husband did husband things. And sure, there could be overlap. Like, doesn't mean women can't go be a doctor or a surgeon or what have you. But
back then, a household was supported by a single salary. And since then, I believe, and I am definitely a conspiracy theorist, but if you read the book, The Creature of Jekyll Isle, you start to really understand the
what they're doing,
the feds and the Federal Reserve, and then you can start to see where those families that run the banks there, how there was an actual effort to create this whole women's lib and women's movement to individuate the man and the woman and to make that seem like woman jobs or woman things, as you called it, wrong or bad. And also because of inflation, they were like, when I say they, I'm talking about the banks and the Federal Reserve in particular, those people said, how can we make more money? If the man is the only one working, we can only tax one person. Why don't we create inflation, and why don't we create it like an impossibility, and why don't we separate them, and why don't we create this women's lib movement, and then we can go have women go out into the workforce to be able to sustain the family, and then we can tax them as well.
Right.
So I believe that there was deep-seated intentions there to break up the family and to cause people to not be in control of their finances so that they would have more dependability upon the banks, the governments, and the people that can't or feel that they can't control their finances can then be controlled, because then you're dependent upon somebody else for your literal survival.
Yeah, it really is crazy. And I'm a huge conspiracy theorist too. I totally believe that, right? So for somebody, for like, let's say maybe a female watching who they found their Grant. Like they found a guy that is an admirable guy, that's a stand-up dude, that has big dreams, big ambitions, like wants to go change the world, right? What do you say to that woman? How does she best support her husband to go change the world? Like what would you say to that person?
Yeah, I would say talk about it, the ideas and where you want to go, and ask what is needed and wanted from you. Like sometimes it's just not the guesswork. I've done that before. I've done what I thought was the best way to support him, but it wasn't what he wanted. And what ended up happening was I would get resentful because I wasn't being appreciated and disregarded for all that I was doing when it wasn't really what he wanted or needed from me. And so when you can actually have those kind of conversations of, hey, this is where we want to go. How can I help you get there? This is where I want to go. How can I help you get there? How can we help us do and get there? And then figure out actually what's needed and wanted and deliver that product.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just communicate.
Yeah.
Communicate. Be on the same page. So many people don't communicate. Right? And you wonder why they have problems. They're not talking.
Or, yeah, that's true. Or they think communication is just talking. But if you're communicating, and I give air quotes, but you're really yelling or being angry or making somebody wrong,
then you're not really.
Do you think that's communication? I don't think so either. I think that's
because the other person's not listening.
No. They're not going to duplicate. They're not understanding. You're making them wrong. They're just being defensive.
Yep.
So it's to me, that's not, hey, it's a start. It opens the door. Sometimes you're angry, you blow off some steam, and just that alone alleviates the problem. So I don't want to say it's not communication. It's communication. It's just hardcore communication. And when you can rise up to the level of communication where you're actually doing it from the standpoint of, hey, how can we help each other? And how can we be a model couple? Give yourself a goal. Like, hey, who are we as a couple? Are we the fighting couple all the time? Are we the couple that are not dependable? Or are we going to be the couple where others can look up to and admire? And first of all, we would have to get along and figure things out. So let me get over myself to do that so that I can be an example.
Yeah, it's so cool. You've talked a lot about being transparent. You said that way back in the day, if you guys ever got to a level of success that would inspire the world, that you would show the world, right?
Oh,
Because
yes.
a lot of people don't. They close the curtain.
And I know why now.
Do you?
But yeah. Well,
Tell me.
why? Of course, why? Because that you open yourself up for false accusations, for lawsuits, for lies, for backstabbing. And a lot of those people, not me, because I walk in the light, not perfect, but I have clean hands. But sometimes those people don't. And they don't want to get found out. So they close the curtains. But anyway, I interrupted your communication.
No, that was really my question, right? Like what inspired you to want to have the curtains open? You kind of answered it in a way, right? You're walking in the light already, so why not, right? Like does that kind of become...
It was a very specific reason, though. It was back in 2008. Again, I always considered myself like I'm just little old me. Like I'm just Elena. I'm little old me. Never went to college. I always thought I was like kind of stupid or dumb or like artistic. I can own that, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm just me. And so, and I had that thing that I wasn't, that success was for other people, not for me. Happiness is for other people, not really for me. And so Grant and I, and Grant's from the sticks. No offense, Lake Charles. We make fun of each other. I'm from New Orleans, but here we are, two people, and he had an incredibly challenging childhood. Lost his father, lost his brother, turned heavily to drugs, alcohol, had his face beat in by drug addicts. I mean, he's been through the ringer as well, And so we thought, if we can make it, like if we can break the mold and the system that is designed to hold us down. If we figure it out, we're going to keep the doors open so that all the other quote unquote little me's that are actually little massive giants, being held down by dental floss and you think it's chains, then we owe it to all the other quote unquote little me's that can look at us and relate and say, if they can do it, we can do it, because it's the truth.
I love that. Anybody can do something that if somebody else has done it, it is of your belief now that anybody can do that. If they have all the desire in the world and the work ethic and all the things.
And I'm just going to add this to tie this book, Dianetics, back into it. I believe anyone can do it as long as you are not trapped by the irrationalities of your mind that are the held down sevens that are preventing you from actually achieving your goals and your dreams. I believe anyone can do it. 1,000,000%.
100%. Anybody can buy the G550. Although we sold the G550, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What is it now? I have to know.
It's a global.
A global?
7,500.
Okay.
I have my own bedroom.
I
have moved up in the world.
I saw Grant's reel where he's like in one room and then he's in the next room and then he's
I'm in the middle room.
Yeah.
He's on the end room and there's two doors and I'm like, this is my life. This is my life. Why not? Why not? This is immense havingness. That have picture, this is havingness. This is living. This is life. There's all parts of it, It's such a big, massive reward to be on that plane and not have to take my shoes off. It is very special.
Yeah.
It's a very real world acknowledgement of all the things that we've done right.
And what's really crazy about that, not crazy, awesome, is that in 2008, you guys were you had a fork in the road, right? Like you had to say, hey, it's either going to work or it ain't going to work. Right. And 17 years ago, is that what that math is?
You're asking me?
So, I mean, not that long ago in the grand scheme of things.
You're right. You're right.
And here you guys are. And so it goes back to if somebody else, they've got to stick with it and do all the things that you guys did and all the things that we've been talking about in the podcast.
Yeah.
But if you can do it, they can do it.
1,000,000%.
I love that.
1,000,000%.
I'll finish with what would be just your number one piece of advice to the wives out there? The wives of crazy entrepreneurs, to my wife, to all the different wives that deal with the Grants of the world, right?
Right.
The chaos, not chaos in a bad sense of the word chaos, but that just a million miles an hour going a million different directions. Like, what would be your advice or something you'd say to them?
I would say thank you. Thank you for being you and being underappreciated and undervalued, and for making the willingness to do it all, to make it look flawless, to help that other being, that crazy entrepreneurial spouse or husband. Thank you for helping him and helping the family unit and the community stabilize. Thank you for your sanity, for your generosity. Thank you for having babies and helping this planet have a place to continue to exist. Thank you for all that you do for so many people, neglecting yourself sometimes at times for the greaterness of your family, and you are heard and you are thanked and you can do it all. And there is a group of women out there and men to support you and to acknowledge you and to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
I love that. It's awesome. Elena Cardone, where can people find you?
Oh, yes. At everything Elena Cardone on all my socials. If you are interested in the book Dianetics, you can go to elenacardone.com/success. Check it out for yourself. Cool. Have your own opinion about it.
I love that.
And that's really it.
And would you recommend that they get the book, Build an Empire?
Oh,
they've got to get that book too, right?
Of course. That book's off amazing.
Yeah.
You know, if I do say so myself. But it doesn't hold a candle to this one, because this can actually bring true sanity and happiness and prosperity to all areas of your life.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being on the show. I hope you have a phenomenal weekend this weekend speaking to all these amazing females.
I know.
It's going to be great.
I know. What an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.